Have you ever felt like everyone's turned against you and you're all alone and nobody really understands what you're going through? You feel like even God doesn't answer your prayers or even care about you anymore. Well, today's message from the Psalms is just what you need to hear. I'm Bishop Jim Lowe, and let's come together and learn God's answers for today's situations as we read from the Word of Truth. Today, we're going to learn what we need to do when you feel like God has forgotten about you. We're going to read from Psalms 13, and we're going to see, as David was speaking in Psalms 12, how the godly were lost, and there seemed like none were around. Now David comes to the point that he believes that even God is not there for him. This is a short Psalms. It only has 6 verses, and it can be divided into 3 sections. Verses 1 and 2 bring up the question about whether God is still listening to David. Verses 3 and 4, he prays to God to defend him from his enemies. And verses 5 and 6, he reflects upon how God will take care of him because of things he knows God has done before. So we read from verse 1, "How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me?" What we see here is that David is worried that it doesn't seem like God is concerned about him. And then he says, "How long shall I take counsel in my soul, having sorrow in my heart daily? How long will my enemy be exalted over me?" Haven't we been in situations like that? When it seems like there's nobody else to talk to except ourselves? And then he says, "Having sorrow in my heart daily." I know we all have been at a point when it seems like we're all alone and it's just nothing but trouble going through our minds. How long do we feel like our haters are going to continue to be against us? David goes on in verse 3 and he says, "Consider and hear me, O Lord my God. Enlighten my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death." In other words, Father, I'm calling out to you in prayer. I'm calling out to you, my God. Open my eyes that I might see what your wondrous works are for me. If you don't speak to me, then I may wind up even dying in this situation. I think many of us have wound up in situations where we think that we're not going to be able to make it. And he says this in verse 4, "Lest my enemies say, I have prevailed against him. Lest those who trouble me rejoice when I am moved." But after he said those verses like that and he cries out in prayer, he then thinks to himself, verse 5, "But I have trusted in your mercy. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me." This is a great Psalms because as we look at it, we all have those times when we're wondering where God is, as we see in those verse 1 and 2. And then we pray to God. And once David gives his prayer to God, we realize that he puts his trust in him, knowing that God's going to work everything out for him. And what he will do in the meantime is what he said in verse 6, "I'll sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me." God's been good to us. So no matter how much we wonder what's going on, when we feel like God has forgotten us, we just remember what David said. Trust in his mercy and rejoice in his salvation. And then sing a song to the Lord because he will deal bountifully with you.